My next guest, I'm calling it already. She is a shoo-in for the state senate, the amazing Woodson Bradley. I'm so excited to have you on the set.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm excited to be here.
I met you for the first time and I was just in awe. And I just think you empower women and you represent women so well. And I'm so excited that you're making the run. The first political aspiration you've been asked for years that you're running for is state senate. That's a big one, girl.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's exciting, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. It's a really interesting time, to say the very least, depending on how you look at things. But it is. It's an electric time to be in that arena.
Tell me what inspired you. You've been asked so many times that now you're like, okay, I think I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Well, I've been asked. I've always been active in the community, and I was raised in a house that you always gave back, and you didn't sit on the sidelines. You were always a part of the world that you lived in. So I was raised by a public school teacher, and my father was in law enforcement. So they were always in the community. So I don't know any different on that note. But as far as being inspired to run now and having been asked to run in the past, I am a domestic violence survivor and sexual assault survivor. I've been a single mom. My domestic violence story in my 20s, and then a second domestic violence story that was here in Charlotte that gained and garnered regional and national attention. And I have also been a client of every single service that social services has to offer, basically running for safety. So you take all that soup, sometimes I call it my bad country song, and it turned out to have an incredible ending. I've got this messy, blended, chaotic family now. It's wonderful, but there are things going on in the world where a very loud minority has gained the reins and have made some pretty extreme legislation on families and women and schooling and different, just all kinds of different things. And so I'm just very much in the center. I'm very much someone that is just commonsensical, but I also know what it's like to be on all the different sides of the cube, if you would. And my motto is, I'm here for the cause, not the applause. I'm not doing this to be famous. I'm doing this to go to Raleigh, create legislation that's going to affect our daily lives and kind of bring us back to center. I think people are tired of the fringe on both ends.
And what a great story that you're sharing it. Yeah. Like, that is a story that, is something that you can relate to the masses. And I was speaking earlier, there's only 25% of women represented in the Senate, only 25%. So, and men wouldn't understand the story that you just told. They just wouldn't. The legislation shows that. The laws show that. So how amazing that you will fight for so many other things, but you live that story to fight for that.
Didn't know it at the time. Right. I know that now. But yes, that life experience is priceless. Hence the Family Justice Center that's getting ready to happen here in Charlotte. I'm a part of that as the survivor voice, because I'm one of the only people that have been on both sides of the table in advocacy, but also as a client, and then back to advocacy at the end with a much louder and stronger voice. So I appreciate you saying that, but I feel like our world isn't made up of 25% women. No. And so it needs to be representative.
50% of us are women in the world.
Especially when it comes to creating laws.
Right.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for running, because so many people would say, I would not get in the world of politics. You hear this from so many people, for anything. You're going to pay me enough money. So, there is a lot of negative press in the world of politics. And there are those people that want to make a difference. You're one of those people that want to make a difference. But there's so many things that need to change. And I think you have to whittle away a little at a time. What are some of the things that you would like to see change when you take that office?
Oh, my gracious. Well, the barrier of entry, typically, it is signing a piece of paper and going to the Board of Elections. But truthfully, the The big barrier of entry is you've got to have means, and you have to have a network, and you have to be able to invest the time, and then all of these other things. And it's a very difficult mountain to climb, and it shouldn't be that way. I believe our democracy was created for people like you and I to make a difference, to serve if we want to serve, and then go back to our lives.
Right.
It is turned into a career. It is turned into a money grab. It is turned into a way to perpetuate either systemic things you want to keep in control, or a family business, or some other type of financial agenda. And I think it's time to get back to the basics, to legislate for the people and by the people, and not have politicians picking politicians.
Right.
People should pick politicians, and not just that, that you really should have your best foot forward on policies that work for everyone and not just a select few.
Right.
I think that's a very egregious problem that's kind of grown out of control.
So I would say the biggest barrier, I think, is houses divided. You've got, the Democrats believe in this, Republicans believe in this, and there's no in between, and it becomes a power struggle. So I feel like that is the biggest issue in politics today. And I love that you just said that. You don't see that. You see that you want to help the people, not just a certain small group. But don't you feel like that's a challenge?
Oh, it's a total challenge. Our culture has become almost tribal, where when I grew up, there were very healthy discussions at the dinner table, whether it was with friends, whether it was with family. You could agree to disagree. It was a very healthy, spirited debate, and then people got along. And now that you can choose the information you get that you agree with, you can stay in that silo, is what I'm going to call it, and it creates this echo chamber, and then it creates almost a zealotness, and we see it across the spectrum. And if you and I can't even communicate on why you might believe something, why I might believe something, and we can't even come together just to even get a glimpse of where you're coming from or where I'm coming from, because your life experience is different than mine and vice versa. How will we ever move forward? We cannot continue down the road that we're on. And I don't believe that politics was ever meant to be an identity. Ever.
Right.
But people feel that way. This is who I am. Well, the way the founding fathers wanted it was for it to be an ideology. These are the principles I believe in, and these are the methods I'm going to do to get there. How about you?
Right.
And we need to make our way back to the center, or we're at a hopeless impasse of obstructionism, which we all know does not work.
Right. It's such a narrow field of my beliefs need to be everyone's beliefs. And so that's not true. Like you said, you have to be open to other people's opinions, because I think when we're closed-minded, nothing changes. It's just the same insanity going round and round. So that's why I'm excited that, that you're a fresh breath of air and that you have different ideals and different view of what you would like to see in the future. And you're female. So those are all great identities that, we need for the change. What do you think will be your biggest challenge?
Well, the biggest challenge right now is this year is going to be a political season unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, this is going to be historical, and we're going to be telling future generations about it. From the extremism that is just perpetuating through the airwaves, through social media. Is it real? Is it fake? Is this true?
Most of it's fake.
Is this AI? Is it, what is going on? And so one of the biggest challenges is really communicating a message the old-fashioned way. We're doing this. We're using all the tools. We're knocking on doors. We're everywhere in the community. I've always been in the community.
You're here.
I'm
on the
here.
set.
I know. But I've always been in the community. I didn't, pluck a kitten out of a tree and then plant a shrub and say, hey, I'm going into community service, like public service. This has been my life. And so it's funny to see how all of these experiences and all of these things that were done for whatever reason, just because it needed to be accomplished or needed to be addressed, is all coming full circle. So it's social media, it's mail, it is face-to-face. But bottom line is, at the end of the day, when people go vote, there are people in this city that are going to say, I know her, and I knew her 20 years ago, and I knew her 10 years ago, and I read about her story, or she sold me a house, or I went to her business and did that. I've always been a business owner. I've always been a mom at the school. I've always been around in the faith community. So we're going to really hit this the old-fashioned way, because then when strange things start flying around, as they are for everyone,
Of course.
you can say, I know her.
That's the saddest part. It has to be negative. Like the social media, like you can't just win on your own merit. You have to win by being negative on the other candidates. So, I love the way you're doing it. You're not throwing hash at the other candidates. You're doing it on your own merit. You're out there. You, like you said, you're pounding the pavement. You're living it. You're living life. You're sharing your story, and you're sharing the future.
And we have a message that people are leaning into. The opposition is against everything. Right. I'm the candidate. We're for things. Okay, well then let's find a solution. How can we make this work? I grew up in a house where everything was figure-outable. This is figure-outable.
Right.
It's just a matter of communicating with people in a way.
Communication. That's the secret. That's the secret
to make it work.
So the last question is a personal one.
I'm going to have to take a sip of something.
Yeah, I swear it's just water. There's no vodka in there. Woodson, that is just such a beautiful name. Where did your name come from? I love it.
It's an old family name. And so in my family, names are everything. And it's a way that we communicate and never forget our past. And so I have an older sister. I was number 2. They planned on having 2 children. And Woodson, I'm named after my father, my grandfather, great-grandfather, so on and so forth. So I'm the 7th Woodson, first girl to have the name. And that's where that came from.
It sounds like state senator's name to me.
Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet.
So in our closing moments,
sure.
What would you like to say? What would you like to say for your last few words? We're debating right now. Tell our viewers out there.
Well, I guess what I want you to know is that your frustration is not going unnoticed. And that there are people right now, there are a slate of candidates across the country that are here for the right reasons. Like, I'm here for the cause, not the applause. And that's happening everywhere. It's a true movement on both parties. But where I'm coming from is a very centered, moderate, is that we can do this. We can fix this. We've just got to start this horrible redistricting. That needs to stop. That needs to be a transparent process, and it needs to be fair. Like it really does. And there needs to be legislation to stop them being able, people being able to manipulate things. And that's for both parties. We need to protect women and children. My goodness gracious.
Absolutely.
We need to protect families. We need to live in safe communities. Who's going to argue with that? And why would we not want to fund our public schools? I'm the daughter of a career public school teacher.
Right.
I think our teachers should have a livable wage.
Absolutely agree.
They are doing the most important job outside of the household that anyone can think of in shaping young minds for the future. That's who's going to take care of us.
We cannot find good teachers because no one can work and live on that salary.
And so, like I said, it's figure-outable. We can do it. But look for candidates that have solutions rather than obstructionists that want to dismantle things. And that would be my best advice to anyone on the outside looking in. Dig deep.
Love you, Woodson. You have been a delight tonight.
Thank you.
I know, girl, that you are going to be power out there. So thank you so much for stopping by the set tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Woodson Bradley, you heard it right here on the Debra Kennedy Show. She is doing amazing things, and she's making changes.